April 1945. The Third Reich is crumbling. Its army shattered, its cities in ruins, and its enemies closing in from all sides. From the west, the Allies push relentlessly toward the heart of Germany. From the east, an unstoppable tide, the Soviet Red Army, prepares for the final blow. But before Berlin lies one last obstacle. A line of hills rising above the flooded plains of the Oder River, the Seelow Heights. From his command post, Marshal Georgy Zhukov gazes westward. He knows victory is only days away, but also knows that these ridges, bristling with German guns, could cost him tens of thousands of men. On the other side, the remnants of the German Ninth Army under General Theodor Bussy dig in. Veterans and raw recruits alike brace for impact, knowing full well what's coming. The order is clear: hold the heights or die trying. The stage is set for one of the last and bloodiest battles of the war, a clash that will decide the fate of Berlin and the final chapter of Nazi Germany. Fade to black, cue artillery fire. The Soviet war machine stands ready to strike. 1 million soldiers from 10 powerful armies stretch across the horizon. Battle-hardened guards divisions, Polish allies, tank armies, shock troops, all supported by more than 3,000 tanks and self-propelled guns. 9,000 artillery pieces and rocket launchers wait in silence, barrels aimed west. Above them, 4,000 aircraft prepare to darken the sky. Facing this unstoppable force is the battered German Ninth Army. General Theodor Bussy commands a patchwork of exhausted infantry divisions, depleted panzer regiments, and hastily assembled Volkssturm militia. Ammunition is scarce, fuel almost gone, and replacements are young, untrained, and terrified. Yet despite their weakness, they know Berlin is only 37 miles away. There is no retreat. Every soldier understands, if they fail here, the Soviet tide will crash into the capital. For Bussy's men, the Seelow Heights are not just hills. They are the last shield of the Reich. Nature itself becomes the Germans' ally. The fertile valley of the Oder River has been transformed into a swamp. Spring floods have saturated the land, and German engineers have opened reservoirs upstream, drowning the fields in thick, sucking mud. Any tank that dares cross will bog down, exposed to withering fire. Infantry will sink to their waists, burdened by sodden gear. Every step toward the Seelow Heights will be slow and deadly. And the heights themselves? A natural fortress. Rising 40 to 60 meters above the plain, they provide the defenders with perfect fields of fire. The slopes are laced with deep trenches, concrete bunkers, camouflaged gun pits, and anti-tank ditches. Beyond the first ridge, 2 more belts of defenses wait, culminating in the dreaded Votin line, a last stand line of steel and concrete. For the Soviets, this is not simply an obstacle. It is a killing ground, designed to break their will before they ever see Berlin. For weeks, the Germans have been preparing. Machine gun nests are dug into the slopes, artillery pieces are hidden in reinforced pits. Anti-tank guns are positioned to sweep the floodplain. Panzer and Panzer Grenadier units wait like coiled snakes, ready to strike at the perfect moment. The Volkssturm, old men and boys, stand side by side with veterans of the Eastern Front, their faces set in grim determination. General Bussy knows he cannot win a head-on battle against Zhukov's million-strong host. His plan is simple: delay, inflict maximum casualties, and buy Berlin time to prepare for its final defense. The Seelow Heights will be a fortress and a trap. April 16, 1945, 3 a.m. The Soviet offensive begins. Over 9,000 guns, mortars, and rocket launchers unleash hell on the German positions. The night sky turns to fire. Soviet Katyusha rockets streak overhead in brilliant arcs before slamming into the heights. For an hour, the bombardment is relentless. Soil and stone rain down into trenches. Communication lines are cut. The very earth seems to convulse under the fury of the Soviet guns. Marshal Zhukov expects the Germans to be obliterated, but when the smoke clears, the heights are still alive with fire. Deep bunkers and reinforced positions have shielded much of Bussy's force. German machine gunners and anti-tank crews crawl back into place, weapons ready. The first act of the battle is over. The second, the fight for the floodplain, has only begun. The Soviet infantry moves forward, but the ground itself turns against them. Waist-deep water and thick, sucking mud slow every step. Tanks and self-propelled guns churn the ground into a quagmire, some sinking up to their hulls. Artillery support becomes chaotic. Guns must be dragged across unstable ground, risking immobilization. From above, German gunners rain shells and bullets onto the bogged-down attackers. The open floodplain offers no cover. Soviet soldiers press forward under constant fire, bodies falling into the mud as others push past them. Every meter gained costs blood. And the slopes of the Seelow Heights still loom far ahead. The Germans know they cannot stop the Red Army head-on. Instead, they turn the Seelow Heights into a shifting battlefield. When Soviet troops breach a trench, the defenders don't stand and die, they melt away to higher ground, forcing the enemy uphill again, into fresh lines of fire. Then, without warning, the counterblows come. Panzer and Panzer Grenadier units surge from concealed positions. From behind ridges and camouflaged tree lines, their guns thunder, ripping into Soviet columns. Machine guns rake exposed flanks. Mortar shells crash down on clustered infantry. Every thrust is sharp and surgical. The aim is not to reclaim lost ground, but to kill, disrupt, and delay. The Soviets are forced to halt, reorganize, and brace for the next strike. It is a deadly rhythm. Advance, bleed, retreat, repeat. For the Red Army, progress becomes measured not in kilometers, but in meters. Each gain costs dearly. And the German defenders, though battered and outnumbered, fight with the fury of men who know there is nothing left behind them but their capital and the end of their world. Marshal Zhukov will not yield. Every time a Soviet regiment is shattered, another takes its place. Reinforcements are fed into the battle without pause. Tanks heave themselves from the mud, T-34 crews dragging immobilized vehicles clear so the assault can continue. Artillery hammers the heights day and night, blasting apart strongpoints, only for German gunners to reappear from hidden bunkers and resume the fight. The fields before Seelow are a vision of hell, charred wrecks, smoldering craters, and the lifeless forms of fallen soldiers. Yet the Red Army moves forward, step by bloody step. On April 17, after 2 days of unbroken combat, Soviet forces break through to the village of Gusow. The capture is hard fought, with house-to-house combat leaving the streets littered with debris and bodies. Now, Seelow itself lies within reach. Still, the Germans refuse to break. Even as their lines shrink, even as ammunition runs low, their guns keep firing. The Red Army presses on, driven by orders from above and the certainty that beyond these heights lies Berlin. And the war's end, April 18th. The battle enters its most savage phase. Soviet armor smashes into the final defensive belt, the Wotan Line. Concrete bunkers are reduced to rubble under direct artillery hits. Anti-tank positions are overrun. By dawn on April 19th, the line is shattered. Soviet troops pour through, their T-34s grinding over abandoned guns and the bodies of defenders. The German Ninth Army begins to fragment. Units retreat in confusion, some fighting to the last, others surrendering in groups. Soviet breakthroughs multiply. Infantry and tanks pour into the rear, cutting off escape routes. Encircled pockets of Germans are crushed or captured. General Bussy's command is collapsing. His forces are no longer an army, only scattered remnants, each fighting its own desperate battle. Berlin, just 37 miles away, lies exposed. The Seelow Heights have fallen. The gates to the German capital stand wide open, and with them, the fate of the Third Reich is sealed. The battle is over, but the price is staggering. The Soviets have paid in blood for every ridge, trench, and bunker. Official reports list 33,000 dead, but the true number may be twice as high. For the Germans, the losses are crippling. 12,000 dead, tens of thousands more captured, and their eastern defenses obliterated. The Ninth Army is a shattered ghost of its former self, retreating in disarray toward Berlin. The Seelow Heights are unrecognizable. Trenches are filled with water and bodies. Concrete bunkers lie cracked and blackened. The smell of smoke and cordite hangs in the air. For the Red Army, the road to Berlin is now open. Ahead lies the final act of the war in Europe, a storm of steel and fire that will end with the fall of the Nazi capital. For Germany, there will be no recovery. Only days remain before the Reich's total collapse. The battle for Seelow has been won, and with it, The end of Hitler's empire is inevitable.
The Battle of the Seelow Heights was more than just a clash of armies. It was a brutal reckoning, the final gateway to Hitler's Berlin. Thousands perished in a sea of mud, fire, and steel as the Red Army clawed its way forward, inch by bloody inch. For the Germans, it was a desperate last stand. For the Soviets, a sacrifice etched in every crater and corpse. And beyond the smoke, Berlin awaited. The fate of a world war hung in the balance. This was not just a battle, it was the beginning of the end. And the road to victory was paid in blood.